This is episode 198 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Welcome to episode 198 of the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today I have Darren Mitchell on the show talking about a concept we've talked about a couple of times on the show, that's infinite banking. So we got into how that works with real estate investors. This is a hot topic these days, so no surprise that some of my guests are wanting to talk about it, and we dug in yet again. Darren is also into real estate investing, and he has a few different projects on the go. One specifically that we went through is an investment in Cornwall, Ontario. I wanted to know about Cornwall because that's where my friend Mark Loeffler started investing. It actually seems like a very affordable town. I've heard of a few people kind of targeting that area. So it was an interesting discussion to get into with Darren, very interesting guy from the East Coast who's investing here in Ontario. So just before we jump into the episode, I want to remind you about my brand new deal analysis show, REI Hot Seat. If you haven't already checked out that show, make sure that you click the link in the description of this video or in the show notes and go subscribe to that channel. So it's a video only show on YouTube right now, and we dig into the numbers. We look at live real deals that are on the market or off market available deals, and we do an analysis and decide what we think of the deal, and then give you an opportunity to see how I'm analyzing deals with my spreadsheet that I use on this show regularly. I highly recommend that you check it out. I also wanted to let you know that we've revived the monthly meetup. If you haven't already heard, the GTA West REI Meetup is the new name. So it's the old Greater Hamilton REI Meetup. Now we're GTA West REI Meetup. And our first meeting will be after this podcast episode launches, but stay tuned for the next one. Make sure that you're in our Facebook group so that you can get notified every time we have a new event. For those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you hit all the buttons, like, subscribe, notification bell, leave us a comment. If you're on the audio platforms, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps more people find the show. Thank you for that. Let's jump into episode 198 with Darren Mitchell. Hello and welcome to the Andrew Hines Real Estate Investing Podcast. I have Darren Mitchell on the show today. Darren, thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for having me, Andrew.
All right, so first things first, recap me, because I know we connected, I think, on Instagram.
Yep.
And you have your own podcast, but that's about the scope of what I know. So tell me a little bit about yourself, how we connected, and what your story is.
Sure. So my story actually comes back to right here where we are. So grew up in the East Coast, got hired out of university. I went for an interview after I was graduating my MBA, and I went for an interview for practice for an insurance company. Was never going to work in the insurance industry, but I needed some practice in interviews. So I went, and next thing you know, boom, I'm hired in the insurance industry. Okay. They put me to London Life head office for 6 weeks of training. And the last week they say, Darren Mitchell is working with the number one manager in the country in group and benefits in Burlington, Ontario. Okay. And I lean to the guy beside me and I go, where the heck is Burlington? And he's making fun of me. And I'm like, well, where's Truro? Where's Windsor, Nova Scotia? Right? So my first job, 30 years ago, 22 years old, was next door to here. The building I was in, I went to the wrong building.
You were in that building, so that's nostalgia.
Yeah, that was my actual building.
So that was that's the ProFunds Valor building. Interesting. So wow, small world then.
Yeah, I was texting my old boss, and I was like, "What's her address?" And then he's like, "I think it was here." And I walked in the building. I was like, "This is it."
It's different though now. Huh?
Oh yeah, they did a major renovation.
Yeah, they did. They put in elevators. That was the biggest thing, because now you're accessible, right? So now they went from being kind of like an average old rundown building to being like very desirable office space for Burlington. Same with this building too. They own this one as well. Fortunate enough, there are landlords. So yeah, we like it here. Okay, well that's awesome.
So that's why I got started kind of in the insurance business by accident, and then I did the corporate world for a while, both in Toronto and back in the East, and then back to Toronto. Did that, and then about 2005, I said, okay, let's do this on my own. So I started my own business, and successful, doing well. And then 2008 happened, and for me, that was really the change. And I write about this in my first book about. I was salmon fishing in Alaska in 2008, and the market was crashing. It was in free fall. Yeah. And back then, it was get in my buddy's truck with my old BlackBerry, drive to the top of the hill, hold my phone up, try to get reception to call the office to see how much is the market dropping in the last hour. Yeah. And for me, that was a monumental thing. I was in my 30s, no big deal for my money. But for my clients' money, I just felt helpless and I felt out of control. And that's really where I kind of changed everything. And I went on this education crusade for a couple of years where I traveled around North America and I studied what the wealthy people do, how they work with their money differently than the middle class and the poor people. And that led me to this infinite banking, high cash value life insurance. Business started booming.
Yeah.
Now we consider ourselves the wealth coaches for real estate investors across Canada. Probably 85-90% of our business is Ontario, and 90% of our clients are real estate investors. So it's been a great journey, and along the way, married a beautiful girl and had 2 great kids. Got a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old.
Oh, okay. Congrats.
Thank you.
Okay, so infinite banking's sort of that's your business then?
Yeah, I basically I help people implement infinite banking into their world, and basically 95% of our clients are real estate owners or business owners, and some others, but that's really the primary focus. It's just that concept's a perfect fit for real estate investors, and that's why we across the country, every province we work in, and
all right.
Business is good, life's good.
You a real estate investor as well?
I am.
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So when I started studying what the wealthy do, it really came down to 3 things. And it was like, what do wealthy people do different with their money? And they do 3 things. They put their money in 3 places. They invest in themselves. Number 1, I got a 24-year-old client in Ottawa. He bought a 14-unit building. He hired a coach, joined a real estate group, had that skill and knowledge investing in himself, bought a 14-unit, none of his own money. That's going to mean millions of dollars over his lifetime, and most people are worked up about where's my $10,000 RSP contribution making 6 or 8. So they invest in themselves, they invest in businesses, and they buy real estate. So I was like, all right, I did the invest in myself. I've learned all kinds of fancy letters after my name. Started a business. So real estate was probably 4 years ago. I went to one of your former guests, Alfonso, 3-day course with Alfonso.
Wealth Genius?
Yeah, it wasn't Wealth Genius back then. And that's really 4 years ago when I started my real estate journey. I was checking out, I got a pre-construction in Port Credit. I checked out this morning, coming along. It's on story 2, got a 4-plex in Cornwall. Cornwall, yeah.
Where do you live?
I live in Halifax or Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Right, okay, so you just happen to be in the area right now.
Yep.
Okay,
yep. My wife's from here. So my wife's parents still live in Port Credit.
Yeah.
So the condo we bought was kind of nice because it's 13 houses away from my in-laws. So the kids are excited because we get to see it, being built and stuff. And then bought a place in Cornwall, bought some land, did some land development, and I do private lending. Okay,
so where's land development?
Land development. So I just invested with Michael Santoni, the Key Spire guy.
Saracini?
Yeah, sorry. Gotcha. So I invested in his.
He has one of his own?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's new. I didn't know he had that.
So I put some money in there, and then I did some private lending the last couple of years, and I own 8% of a 39-unit building, just equity ownership. I'm a hands-off investor. I'm not good with tenants, toilets, and termites, and so I like being the money partner.
Putting money to work.
I like putting money to work, and infinite banking fits perfectly with that.
And we're going to go into that concept a bit more because we've covered it. I think this will be the 3rd time on this show.
Oh, cool.
At some level, we've we've touched on it. We had one not too long ago where we went into it, but I mean, not everybody's seen that episode, so we'll go into that again. Okay, so investing for you was sort of started in your 40s with real estate.
Yep.
Obviously, before that, you were doing it in stocks and term life, like cash value life insurance policies.
Life insurance, but I was a stock guy. I had a mutual fund license. I sold mutual funds, and I thought that was it. That was what people should do. And now I look back and almost feel guilty, right? Not that I'm against the stock market or RSPs, but for an entrepreneur, for a real estate investor, my big belief is you got to be in control of your money. Yeah. And look at the market today. You're not in control.
You control your money. That's a big thing. Like that you said that. Like that was a big lesson I learned going back to the beginning of my podcast. I talked about that a lot. Being a control freak, which is it's a problem too. Like you can't be too much of a control freak, but being in control of your investments is what helps you to react quickly and to be able to react and or respond. I'll say. So for me, like I would say like I wasn't in control when I didn't even have my tenants' contact information, right? I had a property manager. I didn't even know who was in my buildings. That's not a good place to be. It's one thing to have the manager, but I want to have a record of all that information too. That puts me in a better control. So just things like that. When I was too busy with the construction of my units, that's kind of how I had things set up. So, okay, that makes sense. So you generated the majority of your wealth from earnings and then investing in stock market, mutual funds, all that, and then started investing in real estate. Is that a fair synopsis?
It is, but I would say
Want to network with like-minded investors and get an idea for what the best of the best are doing? Better make sure you make it out to our next GTA West REI meetup. This is a new meetup that's replacing the Greater Hamilton REI meetup that I used to host. We launched our first meetup in November. It was a great success. We had about 75 people out, and we're looking forward to doing more of them and having more people come out. It really is a great opportunity to connect with a lot of people that I've been in contact with online or seen in the comments, and now I can finally put a face to the name. And I think you'll have a similar experience if you attend our events. Our next event is happening on December 8th from 7 till 9:30 p.m. at Clifford Brewing in Hamilton, Ontario. If you'd like to attend the event, it's very important that you click the link in the description of this video or in the show notes of this episode, and make sure that you add yourself to the group. And then once you're in the group, please be sure to add yourself to the event so that we know who's coming and we can notify the establishment. Real estate values and interest rates are changing quickly, and huge opportunities are opening up in the marketplace. But to take advantage of those opportunities, you're going to need real estate experts on your team. That's why I've brought my first sponsor on the show, Jacob Campanaro with Royal LePage Signature. Jacob is an expert commercial multifamily realtor, and he's also the resident realtor on my new deal analysis show, REI Hot Seat, which is available on YouTube. If you're looking to add a quality piece to your real estate power team, Jacob and his team are there to help. To book a consultation with a member of his team, fill out the form available through the link in the show notes on this episode, and a member of his team will be in touch. Now let's get back to the episode.
the bulk of my wealth came from investing in my business.
Okay.
So the business generated a lot of revenue, and I'm using that business to go into real estate.
Okay, so the business was big. So you're in your own company, which you're basically authorized to sell insurance.
Yep.
And then the concept is called infinite banking, which is really just borrowing against insurance policies. If you want to simplify it,
Sure.
It allows you to borrow basically your own cash value back.
It allows you to borrow the insurance company's money while your cash value stays in there. Yeah.
But what you're paying in interest helps build your policy, does it not?
In some sense.
I
think some guys overblow that a lot.
Because that was the last discussion I had. I was like, yeah, that's what it's doing.
Yeah, it's like, it's like, oh, no, you should always get your loan from the insurance company because you're part owner of this fund. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm part owner of RBC too, but if they offer me a mortgage at 6% and BMO offers me one at 3%, I'm going to BMO. So I don't think it should be the only place you look for finances. And I don't believe in financing properties other than down payments, and we get into that. But I don't believe in financing the 80% when you can get cheap mortgage money. That doesn't make sense unless it's a short-term thing. So that, again, when people that do that, they give up control. Why would I take a $600,000 loan for my policy and buy one property when I can take, buy 5 or 6 properties for that same amount if I get mortgages?
Yeah, and that's kind of like the wisdom that really worked, say, 6 months ago. And things have changed now, and I want to get into that with you. We'll definitely dig in on that. Okay, so as far as the concept goes, you're a broker of insurance, is that correct?
Yeah, so we're independent financial advisors, and we're not married to any one company. Yeah. But there's only 4 companies in Canada that offer products that fit what we want to do.
For the infinite banking
concept.
The infinite banking. So RBC is one of them, as you mentioned?
No.
No? Okay, sorry.
No. So there's four companies that have a long track record of doing this, and they're big. They're the Manulife, Sun, Equitable, and Canada Life. So the big 4.
And those ones, so basically you can have a cash value policy, and they will allow you to leverage against it.
They will allow you, and it's contractual. So it's not like, when you call for a policy loan, they ask you 2 questions. Do you want to check it? Do you want to deposit in your bank account, or do you want to check? That's it. Like there's no qualifying.
So you don't have to do a credit app.
There's no credit app.
Because you're just borrowing against your own money.
It doesn't show up in your credit report.
See, that's actually super, super valuable.
Yeah. And it, banks don't look at it as a loan for borrowing capacity. So, there's some huge advantages for real estate
And
investors.
what kind of rate is somebody paying, like typically right now, to borrow back against their policies?
Yeah, it's gone up. So it was last year was 4.45. Now it's 6% in change for most of the companies.
So in line with like the fixed rate mortgages right now.
Yeah, but you got to think 100%. But the type of loan it is what makes it magical, right? It's uncallable. So things go south, you lose your job, you can't call it. Interest tax deductible.
What about if the cash value of the policy decreases?
Cash value of the policy is guaranteed never to decrease.
Oh, never to decrease.
So it goes up every year, and they have a 150-year track record of paying a dividend every single year, but it's contractual. You can never
It's a
lose
contractual. Money. Okay. So unless they were to like go bankrupt, which is not likely for those companies, because
even if those companies went bankrupt, these funds are segregated and separate from that. So
they're separate from the company.
The $20 billion or $80 billion in that fund, they own assets.
Okay.
And those assets are not part of the company because, again, those four specific products, we actually own the fund as the policy holders.
Yeah.
So we own a piece of that 20.
Okay, so the ownership of the fund is purely everybody who's invested in it.
Purely everyone. And the insurance company doesn't own it. They just get a management fee to look after it. So, they'd be just as happy if you bought one of their other products that they make all the profit from.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and it's worth digging into this because like I truly just don't know that much about, the insurance space. So it's great having you kind of break this all down for us. Okay, so what else can I ask you about this? As far as, so what are they invested in? What are these policies typically going up in cash value on an annual basis?
Yeah, somewhere between 3.5% and 5% tax-free.
That's the track record, and that's after all management expense?
Yeah, I mean, the management expenses, the investment management expenses on most funds are around 14, 15 basis points, 0.1415 versus a mutual fund at 2.2. So, I mean, incredibly low fee. And the four participating whole life contracts in Canada are actually federally regulated with respect to fees. Yeah. So the insurance company or the government came in years ago and said, we got to protect these poor widows and orphans, or the rich people that do it now, from the big bad insurance companies. So they limit the insurance companies what they're allowed to charge in investment expenses. And that's why it's between 10 and 20 basis points, depending upon the company.
Yeah, so it's super limited in these. Okay. And now this is where it's like a philosophical, obviously you can borrow against this. So it is valuable. Those are relatively low returns right now when you think about where inflation's at. So how in your mind does it make sense? Because I know a lot of real estate investors are doing this, and obviously it's something, pretty special to be able to borrow against your own money. You don't have any sort of tax hit with that. It doesn't show up anywhere, and it's still growing and invested.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts there? Like why wouldn't somebody just go do some private mortgages right now in this climate?
Sure. So I do private mortgages. Okay. I do private lending. So I'll give you my last private lending deal. So it was 15% for 1 year. Okay. And I loaned $100,000. Okay, great. 15%. It's like, why the heck would I do insurance when I can do this? And again, 20 years ago, you would ask me that, I would have said the same thing. 15 higher than 4 or 5. Yeah. Okay, well, this
guarantee
is
tax-free. Is worth something too.
Yeah, I mean, tax-free is worth something, and death benefit, all those other stuff. Yeah. But that's when I used to think about or assets. Do I do 15%, or do I do mutual funds, or do I do this? This is an and asset because my money's in my cash value policy growing. Yeah. I borrow.
But you're also doing other things too.
Yeah. So I'll give you my private example. So I loaned $100,000 at 15 points. I didn't use my own money. Called the insurance company and said, "Hey, can I have $100,000?" They said, "Sure, no questions asked." They put it in my bank account. At the time, I was paid about 5% interest. Yeah. I loaned it out at 15, made the 10 points. My policy was completely unaffected. Yeah. So now my money's growing in the policy,
and you're making a spread,
and I'm making money over here. Yeah. And it's providing a death benefit.
Well, yeah, that's the big thing, like the death benefit, because I believe that's not taxable, right?
Death benefit's tax-free, growth is tax-free. Yeah. Everything's
yeah, that's where the concept with life insurance, like it became such a big discussion. I remember even like right when I got into the mortgage industry, hearing talks on it and like, well, you avoid the taxes. That's obviously huge. You can't discount that part.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it's a certainty too, right? I mean, look what's going on right now. I'm not a fan of RSPs. We can talk about that later for what I do, right? Yeah. I'm not saying, you're a teacher or whatever, you want to do RSPs, that's fine. I don't have a lot of teacher clients.
Well, you can do self-directed, but even that's becoming difficult.
Right. But what's happening in the market right now is even TFSAs, which I like after cash value life insurance, that would be my favorite. But, TFSAs are down 30% on average this year.
Right. It's what you're invested in, right? The TFSA is the legal structure that prevents the taxation, but it's all what you chose to invest in, right?
And it's still an or asset, but if it's down 30%, 90% of people are going to go, wow, there's a great opportunity I see, but I don't want to sell my TFSA when it's down 30%. So if you have an asset that's uncorrelated to the stock market and real estate market like this is, well, now the market's dropping. My cash values continue to go up. So I go, great, now's the time I want to access cash. And I can do that and continue to grow my policy at the same time. So I'm doing stuff in the short term, but I'm also saving for the long term.
Yeah, it's like saving for tomorrow, right? I think that's a good, and I think a lot of people would like it for the, I can't touch it. It's like forced savings. Okay, well, it's there for me. It's there.
Well, you can't touch. You mean you can borrow? You
borrow against it, but I'm not going to be taking it out. And I think a lot of people just want that comfort of knowing, okay, I've got this building for me.
Yeah, I mean the whole premise of this is you have one compound interest curve in your life, and you want to stay on it. And most Canadians don't stay on that compound interest curve. Rich people do. Yeah. And so we're trying to, just if you want what rich people have, mirror their behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a tough decision nowadays, though, with seeing what's happening, right? I mean, who isn't losing net worth right now? I mean, pretty much across the board. I mean, except for people shorting everything are probably doing pretty well.
Or with cash value life insurance. Again, March 2020, I had a bunch of calls and people were like, when COVID first hit and the market did that first drop, people are calling like, oh, the world's coming to an end. What's going on? Like, what about my cash value life insurance? Everything else going down. And I'm like, it's going up in value every single day like it has for 150 years. Yeah. And that's certainty in times of uncertainty. And that's why the industry is booming and our business is booming, is people want certainty.
Yeah, there's certainly like, even if it's just a part of their portfolio, they want certainty in one spot. Okay, like I'm good with uncertainty here, but I want to have some certainty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like, the big for me is control of my money. I love that at any point, if there's an opportunity, I don't got to go ask a bank for money. Yeah. I know I can access money quickly.
Just pull it out.
Just borrow against it and take advantage of opportunities, and it doesn't affect my long-term plans.
Okay, awesome. So your day-to-day right now, like what's your day-to-day? Are you working with clients directly, or are you managing a team that works with clients directly?
Yeah, I'm doing both. So I'm not meeting with a lot of clients, as many clients as I used to be. I'm working on growing the business, appearing on podcast. We have our own podcast. Control and compound.
Control and compound. Okay, this is all coming back to me now. I remember you shared that with me. Tell me about that. What do you guys talk about? Obviously, this is part of it.
Yeah. So we really kind of focus on three things. We focus on cash value life insurance, infinite banking, real estate investing. We've had a bunch of real estate investors on that you'd be familiar with, and business owner stuff, right? Yeah. Like, what about, should I take CPP or not? Should I, or pay into CPP and all that stuff? So we get into all that, all kind of money related, but real estate investing and cash value life insurance would be the bulk of it.
Wait, CPP is optional? I thought it was, I'm an employer, so I know that I have to deduct it.
Well, no, for your employees, it's 100%, but you can take dividends instead of salary and not pay CPP. All these different things. And, there's pros and cons either way, but I mean, it's just those things, and then if something comes up new in the insurance industry, we'll talk about that. But really, real estate investing and cash value life insurance, because that's what we are. Like our wealth coaches, we invest in real estate. Yeah. We believe in real estate. And for me, my second book I wrote was, I think it was 6 or 7 different ways to invest in real estate with cash value life insurance. And I've been going through trying to do every single one of those just so I can better help clients understand how it all works. So I've done the joint venture, the land development, private lending, reconstruction, et cetera. All
right. So tell me about the books, like titles, when they were published, all that.
Sure. So the first one was called Be the Bank. That was June 2020 came out. How the wealthy control and compound their money. Be the Bank, how the wealthy control their money. And then the second one came out a year later in 2021, and that was Infinite Banking for Real Estate Investors.
Nice. Okay. So you're really hitting on what people want to know. Like, because I do get people asking me about this. So like, what do you make of infinite banking? I got one right after Dan McMullen talked about it. And I just said, well, so what do you make of it? I'm like, I really don't know. I don't know anything about it, like except for what we've discussed on the show. However, I will say, like, conceptually, it makes sense. Like, I mean, if they're going to let you just borrow against your own money and you want that portion of certainty in your portfolio, why not?
Yeah, well, it comes back to, I always say you got to save or store your money somewhere, So where are you going to put it? Now, your long-term money, people tend to put in long-term stuff. Your short-term money, they tend to put in the bank. They're in zero, but they need liquidity, use, and control.
Yeah.
Well, this provides you liquidity,
Give you
use,
some
and
liquidity.
control,
Yeah.
and it provides you long-term, uninterrupted, tax-free compounding.
Yeah.
And it allows you to multiply your money. You can literally multiply your money and say, leave it in my long-term tax-free growth, in my cash value, and I'm also going to multiply that dollar and go do real estate, go do business, go do some other opportunity.
Okay, so that you said there were 8 strategies people could use to borrow against their cash value policy.
Yeah, it was. I just went through kind of pre-construction land development. So I'll give you another one. The fourplex I bought in Cornwall.
Yeah.
So it was 2 duplexes. It was got a little complicated there, but it was 2 duplexes on one property.
Okay.
And it was $375,000. So we bought it last year for $375,000. Cornwall. Not people always go, that wasn't Ontario. I'm like, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's not Southern Ontario. So $375,000. So I had to come up with $80,000 for a down payment. So went to the insurance company, said, hey, can I have $80,000? They said, sure. Went to my bank, said, hey, I need a $300,000 mortgage. They said, where'd you get the down payment? I said, I borrowed from my cash value. They said, okay, we consider that an asset, not a loan. So didn't affect my borrowing capacity. Did the $300,000, and now this was the plan all along. Yeah. We actually we're separating those 2 duplexes.
So you're severing the...
So we got approval from the council to do that. And so right now, those duplexes, we think $350. So we got some nice cash flow coming in.
$350 each?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got some nice cash flow coming in there that I'm paying back the loan. But really, when we refinance it, I'll pay off that loan completely.
Yeah.
And then go do another one, and that was just an and opportunity. It didn't affect my cash value at all.
Yeah, you still have access to it. So you're looking at something worth $700 when it's done. Let's just run through those numbers real quick again. So you purchased for how much?
$375.
$375 for the whole thing. And what did you have into it to get the severance?
We actually haven't got the legal bill there. We think it's going to be $1,000, $1,500, like just for the legal work for that.
Yeah, legal work. And then as far as like the planning, did you hire a planner or you just did it yourself?
No, we had a planner and a lawyer, and I that was a joint venture. So I've got a joint venture partner that was handling that. I'm the one
covering all those costs, or
we're sharing those costs.
Okay, so you probably like a few $1,000s for all that too.
A few $1,000.
Yeah. So let's just say you have like $5,000 into them. Any renovations?
No.
No. Okay, so no renovations needed. So you're in for you're going to be in for like $380. And as far as like, you're going to rent them, I'm guessing?
They're rented. They're fully rented, yeah.
Okay, and what are the rents?
The rents are about $750 a month, so we get about $3,000 a month coming in.
Okay, is that can't be market rent there?
No, not yet. So there's, but to be honest, Cornwall still hasn't caught up
to the rest of the place. So you can still rent pretty cheap there. Like if these people these are probably longer term tenants that are there. So what would market be, like 1,200 or something for
1,100 in that area?
Okay. Any plans to try and turn them over, or are you just going to leave it?
No plans yet. I mean, the goal year one was just to get that severed and refinance. So that was the only sort of focus year one.
Well, what's the thought? Will you try and sell it?
Nope.
No, just leave it alone. So this is really just making sure that the legal value is there if you ever did want to sell it, or if you want to refinance against it. Now
we want to refinance to get it, refinance, and then get that deposit I made back.
Okay, yeah.
And then go do another one.
So that allows you to just pull the money back out by getting higher value. Of course, now that means you're going to have
slightly higher mortgage.
Higher mortgage payment. Let's run through how your numbers will look there. So taxes, what are your annual taxes?
Taxes are $318 a month.
Times 12, so about $38.16 a year. Insurance on something like that,
$224 a month.
Okay, and maintenance, I'm just going to say 5%, just nice even number. Utilities, are you paying utilities there?
Yeah, we're paying most of them. It's $217 a month we pay for that.
For everything? And that's on average across the year?
Yeah.
Okay, so $2,600 a year. That's it? How can you do that little? For all utilities, water, gas, electric?
Sorry, there's some people that pay for utilities, some don't. It's
with that mix, you're paying.
It's a mix.
You're paying too. Okay, perfect. Okay, management. Are you paying a management company?
Yeah, I've got management and maintenance combined here, about $351 a month, so about 11% of 12%.
Okay, so 5% for both. We'll call it 10% combined. Yeah. Okay. Landscaping and snow. Are the tenants doing that, or do you?
We do that. That's included in our maintenance and management there.
Oh, okay. It's already included in those numbers. Okay. All right. And then renting hot water heater, anything like that? No. And miscellaneous, I'll just throw $500 in there. Okay. So you figure it's worth 700 when it's done?
Well, so we said 350. So if we can get 6, we're ecstatic.
Okay, so 6, let's just say. So at 600,000, yeah, here's the challenge. Like, it's not likely to get 80% because your cap rate's only 3.68 with current rents. Of course, you could up those rents if you really wanted to. So you're in for 375. So you need to roughly get somewhere around, say, 60 to 65% loan to value at the end of that.
Yep.
Yeah, like at 62% or something like that. 63. Okay, so let's just say you got 63%, which basically breaks you even, gets your money out. At a 30-year AM, say 5.25% interest rate, you'd be a little negative on the cash flow.
Well, our again, we're only 1 year into a 5-year mortgage on the first piece.
Oh, okay. So are you just going to leave that alone?
So we're going to leave that alone, and we're going to finance on top of that.
Okay, finance on top of it. With a second mortgage, or to get like a line of credit in second position?
Yeah, we got couple options that the bank have thrown out.
Which bank is it?
RBC.
RBC. Okay, so they'll allow you to put a step in, or Scotiabank has a step.
Yeah, it's equivalent of the Scotiabank, whatever they call it.
Okay, yeah, so that's perfect. So you don't need to touch that. Then you can keep your cash flow positive. See, that's great. I feel like I saw a meme the other day, which I thought was hilarious, and it was in the States. All the buyers who bought in 2021 at like 2.15% on a 30-year fixed term mortgage, and it was like King, what's his name, the new one, and just like you feel like royalty, you're paying that rate. And I think that's an interesting thing with the U.S. as a differentiator between here is like people don't need to sell there. There are so many people on 30-year mortgages at like super low rates, they can just leave it alone. Whereas Canada, once those 5-year terms come up and people double their payment, a lot of them are just going to list their house, or go power sale. Like it's going to be a very interesting and kind of sad to a degree. Not to get too tangent here, but it's going to be interesting to watch what happens over the next little bit, see how that goes. But anyway, so you're in a good position. You're going to still cash flow. So your mortgage is at what rate?
We had a little problem with the mortgage, so it was delayed a few months. So we're at 2.99, I think. So our mortgage
that's pretty solid.
1260, yeah.
Yeah. So, 1260. So, whatever you add on for that second portion, we could work that out. I'm going to get to the exact numbers, but it looks like you'll probably be at a break-even scenario. Yeah, we're like cash flow, a little bit of cash.
Ballpark $500 now, so with a little higher mortgage. We'll be
just bring it down a bit, but you're still in a good spot, I think, overall. Okay. So that seems like a decent investment. It's great when you can pick up a legal severance, and now you can sell one side of it. You have a lot more flexibility.
Options, right? That's all we're trying to look for.
Okay, so now here's the sort of hot seat question. Like, what do you do now when you see prices kind of coming down consistently, just like the stock market's been coming down consistently as it kind of bounces around and then continues? How do you look at real estate investing now? Where do you see yourself focusing over the next year or two if this trend continues?
Yeah, well, that's the $1 million question, right? And I don't profess to be the greatest real estate investor in the world. I'm still learning this, but what I learned early in my career is there's people that are smarter than you. Why don't you listen to them? So I literally went to a real estate investing course on multi-unit apartments last weekend, right? And like people are afraid to spend some money. So, I'm looking at all kinds of things. I like the private lending. Surprised private lending rates haven't gone up a little more.
They're still hanging in right around where they were.
Yeah.
And I think, here's my theory. I think that with consistent falling real estate values, the demand for private lending is probably going up, because now you're looking at your total returns on real estate factoring no appreciation or even negative, like even factoring depreciation. Your returns are lower than they would be just private lending.
Yeah.
I think that, so there's more people who want to do private lending now, potentially, but then there's also people who are just afraid to act right now too.
So really right now, I call it my opportunity fund, right? That's cash value life insurance and cash. Like again, I don't put all my money into there, and I don't think all your money should go in it. But I've got cash value life insurance and cash, and I call it my opportunity fund, opportunity/emergency fund, but opportunity is way sexier, right? I'm building my opportunity fund, and I know there's going to be massive amounts of opportunity in the next couple of years. I think it's going to be incredible. I don't know exactly where that is, but I know I need control of my money to be able to take advantage of those opportunities quickly. So, one of my favorite stories, I was at a conference like 2010 or so in Florida, and this accountant was talking about all his business owner clients. He was giving a speech, and he goes, in 2008, when everything crashed, he goes, everyone had money in the real estate and the market and no access to capital. People that had access to capital, he goes, those are significantly my wealthiest clients. And he told the story about a guy who borrowed $1 million. Now, it was insurance, but it could have been from anywhere. But this guy borrowed from his cash value. And he bought 13 additional franchises, whatever franchise he was in. And a guy raised his hand and goes, was the policy loan rate 5% or 6%? And he's like, who gives a crap? The guy made millions of dollars because he had access to money. So I think that's going to be the real challenge in the next 2 years.
And I've been thinking about this so much.
So I want to be in control for when those opportunities happen. I can pounce because, typically when there's blood in the streets and nobody can do anything.
Nobody can get any money.
If you have money, that's the time to buy. So I want to make sure I'm in control of my money.
So where I'm investing down in Florida, Cape Coral, it went down. They had $350,000 places that went down to $35,000. There were just so many foreclosures. So thinking about that, I do know a guy who I met down there. He's Canadian, and he moved down there, and he was a financial advisor, and he's like, well, I don't know anything about real estate. He's like, but I've always heard that you're supposed to buy the dip, and this is definitely the dip. So he just started buying up places down there for 10 cents on the dollar. I don't know what he's got now. I'd love to get him on the podcast to just share his story. But it's pretty insane. And he's, just kind of living his life down there off his rental properties and such. Like you said, these are like once in a lifetime type of opportunities, once or twice. 2008, it was a little too early for me. I had just graduated, didn't know anything about anything, wasn't into real estate investing yet. 2010, I started investing. If only I had thought then or had access to the capital to invest in like Florida. Because things have come up so much since then.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the currency too at the time was like almost on par.
Almost a par, right? Yeah.
So I know guys selling properties in Florida and they're making as much as on the currency swing as they made on that. And it's, what a nice little bonus, right? You don't think of that going in. And
Yeah. And I've been sort of fortunate with that, even with the stuff I've invested over the last couple of years. Is like, it was better than it is now. Now it's even, the exchange is pretty bad right now. Yeah. It's very expensive to buy US dollars, which is, I think it's just because they're the reserve currency of the world. So when there's uncertainty, more people buy US dollars.
Yeah. And that's not my issue with the financial planning world. Like I'm a CFP and get all my fancy letters and stuff. But, if you're a business owner or a real estate investor and we know what's coming, we know there's a recession coming or at least massive volatility and all kinds of stuff,
we're objectively in a recession if you don't want to change the definition.
But, everyone has, I'm fine for a regular person, but for a real estate investor and business owner, for a financial advisor to say to a 30-year-old, you should give up control of your money, put it in a nice balanced mutual fund for the next 41 years till you're 71, turn it into a RIF and hopefully enough to get by. They're not going to be able to take advantage of the opportunities. So, for the people that are business owners or real estate investors, control is important to everybody, but for those people, uncorrelated assets and control of your money.
Yeah, I think that's wise. Now, so just confirm, what do you mean by uncorrelated? So you're just saying just entirely different diversified assets?
Yeah, so in 2008, the stock market crashed, real estate crashed. Yeah. What happened to whole life in Canada? They all paid dividends of 7% and change.
Okay.
2022 repeat, right? I haven't been waiting for this, but I've been planning for this since 2008 because I said, next time it happens, I'm not going to be out of control. I'm going to be in control of my money. So it's happening now. I've got the opportunity fund built. And now it's like, okay, now I take advantage of those opportunities. This year, 2022, stock market's crashing, real estate's dropping, cash value life insurance, they all pay dividends at 6% and change. Two of the four companies actually increased their dividends in 2022 and two maintained them. So
they're doing better than usual then, because typically they were, you said 3%.
Well, sorry. So there's a dividend, right? So the dividend goes, and then the way we design the policies, we try to maximize the cash value, right? Yeah. Death benefit's a secondary feature. Now there's great benefits to the death benefit we can talk about later, but the focus is the cash value. So on the cash value, you're going to grow somewhere, 3.5%, 5%. Tax-free, depending upon your age and your health and all that stuff. part of the dividend, most of the dividend is going to go to that, but part of it's also going to go to your death benefit. So the death benefit's going to be increasing as well. So that 6% dividend, you're not going to see a 6% increase in your cash every year. This is not going to happen.
Okay, so the death benefit is not a cash value, or it is a cash value?
Well, they both get paid, they're tax-free death benefits, but, let's say you start with a policy at 25 grand a year or something, and you're depositing 25 grand a year. Well, it's going to come with a death benefit of 400,000, 500,000, 600,000, depending upon your age. And then that death benefit is going to grow each year, and your cash value is going to grow.
Okay.
Most of the focus will be growing in the cash value, but it still, at the end of the day, is a life insurance contract, and there is a death benefit, which down the road is going to be valuable. But the cash value is not going to grow at 6. It's going to grow most around 4 to 5, but 3.5 to 5, we say.
Interesting. Okay. Darren, what else would you like to talk about, or was there something I had asked? Is there something you would wish I'd asked you about? Yeah.
Well, for me, like, If we look at what most people do, and we kind of bring it all back to real estate, because again, I know that's your focus, and that's my client's focus, is what most people do is they take $1, they fire it in the stock market, they cross their fingers, and they hope it does one job. They hope it goes up in value. And then, what excited me with real estate is, well, now you invest in real estate, and now I have 4, 5, 6 different ways I'm going to make money: active, appreciate, or do a reno, appreciation, cash flow, power of leverage. I've got tax deductions. I've got tenants paying down my mortgage. So I've got 4, 5, 6 ways, or 4, 5, 6 jobs I'm doing. And all I do is say, okay, 1,000-year-old strategy or thousands-year-old strategy, 90% of millionaires and billionaires, whatever the number is, that did it through real estate. If we take that and we combine it with infinite banking and say, why don't we fire the money in the policy first? Then we go leverage it, go buy the real estate, use cash flow or refinance, and you pay back the loan. Rinse and repeat. By the time you get 3 properties, now you're paying off the loan in a year or less. But by flowing it through the property, think of all the other jobs flowing it through the insurance contract. Now we get all these other jobs, right? We've got a death benefit. We have creditor protection. It's huge. So if you get sued or bankrupt, they can't touch it. We could have a disability rider if you become disabled. There's a terminal illness rider. If you're terminally ill, they'll advance 25%.
Right. Yeah. So there's some protections there.
Yeah. Save on term insurance. So I was spending $200 a month on term insurance. Well, I got to a point where I was buying cash value for the cash, but it was also providing a death benefit. So I was able to eliminate that expense from my family's finances. Okay. And then it doesn't affect my borrowing capacity. So now we get, instead of $1 doing one potential job, we've taken $1, provided a death benefit, we've multiplied it, grow your cash value tax-free for the rest of your life that you can spend tax-free in retirement. Yeah. And then we're going to take that $1, leverage it, go do real estate, and we're going to have that $1 do multiple jobs. So multiplied dollars and have them do multiple jobs. Yeah. That's how people get ahead. And then, the other thing is retirement. I think the retirement system is a little broken in Canada because, the traditional way of saving at interest rates we've experienced in the last number of years and the returns I think we're going to experience, it's pretty hard to just, without a pension, to save enough money to replace that income. And that's a crisis in the making. And I think that a lot of people have seen that coming for a long time, because if you just compare salaries, even in the 80s compared to what it costs to buy a house and like all this stuff, I mean, the costs have just gone up astronomically, and salaries in real terms have not kept up. No. Yeah, like yes, nominally they go up, but that's not your real buying power, because our buying power has been it's been consistently decreasing for a long time. That's inflation at work, right? And I mean, you get $1 million in your RSP, sounds like a lot. Well, what's he going to produce? Maybe 40 or 50, 40 grand a year in income? Yeah, that's not enough. And then you're going to pay tax on that. Yeah. Except for people who throw that all into private mortgages and stuff, but that's not the same thing. There obviously are risks that come with that kind of approach too. So I get it. Yep. So, okay, awesome. Well, it's been an interesting conversation. It's nice digging into this. I appreciate the way you explained this, because it was very easy to follow. And I'm sure you had some experience at that. Done it a few times. Okay. So Darren, where do people find out more about you? Yeah. So people can go to controllandcompound.com, or if you're Andrew Hines listeners, we've actually built a special page for the Andrew Hines listeners. Okay. So if you go to hub.controllandcompound.com/Andrew Hines, we got some special things there. We got a webinar there you can watch, learn more. We got places where you can find my books, and we're going to reserve some spots front of the line for appointments with one of our wealth coaches if real estate investors or listeners want to check us out.
Okay, sounds good. And I'm sure you've sent me all those links so I can include them in the show notes.
I have.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on. It's nice to meet you, and look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Please make sure to share this episode far and wide. Help it help more people. I really appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you on the next one. Want to network with like-minded investors and get an idea for what the best of the best are doing? Better make sure you make it out to our next GTA West REI meetup. This is a new meetup that's replacing the Greater Hamilton REI meetup that I used to host. We launched our first meetup in November. It was a great success. We had about 75 people out, and we're looking forward to doing more of them and having more people come out. It really is a great opportunity to connect with a lot of people that I've been in contact with online or seen in the comments, and now I can finally put a face to the name. And I think you'll have a similar experience if you attend our events. Our next event is happening on December 8th from 7 till 9:30 p.m. at Clifford Brewing in Hamilton, Ontario. If you'd like to attend the event, it's very important that you click the link in the description of this video or in the show notes of this episode, and make sure that you add yourself to the group. And then once you're in the group, please be sure to add yourself to the event so that we know who's coming and we can notify the establishment. Real estate values and interest rates are changing quickly, and huge opportunities are opening up in the marketplace. But to take advantage of those opportunities, you're going to need real estate experts on your team. That's why I've brought my first sponsor on the show, Jacob Campanero with Royal LePage Signature. Jacob is an expert commercial multifamily realtor, and he's also the resident realtor on my new deal analysis show, REI Hot Seat, which is available on YouTube. If you're looking to add a quality piece to your real estate power team, Jacob and his team are there to help. To book a consultation with a member of his team, fill out the form available through the link in the show notes on this episode, and a member of his team will be in touch.